Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Battle Hymnal. This is a very special edition of the Battle Hymnal because it is us flying without any nets, without our beautiful producer Josh. We are here to preview the Georgia versus Kentucky game this weekend. We are very excited. I am very excited to join you here today on this pre-Halloween Eve. I'm Nathan Lawrence. I am the co-host of the Battle Hymn and also the co-host and one of the proprietors of the Chapel Bell Curve, the sister production, the audio production of this video production. I am joined here today by one of my regular co-hosts and analysts, Graham Coffey. Say hello, Graham.
Hello.
Graham is the writer extraordinaire and just genuine good man who writes over at Dog Sports, joining us from Durango, Colorado, and joining us on a special guest appearance, coming in at, I'm going to say generously 6 feet, Justin Bray from Athens, Georgia, here to fill in.
Larger than Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, slightly taller than Stetson Bennett. Justin Bray here to fill in for our Josh Hancher, our normal producer, who cannot join us because of his very important real world job, which means more to him and us than anything we do here. So we are still going to do our best, even with I will admit some technical challenges because we don't have Josh's very expensive production set up. We're going to do our best to bring you some plays and some previews. So if you have not been reading Dog Sports, which I think many of you are watching us from the Dog Sports Twitter, so I don't know why you wouldn't be, you probably missed, and if you did, you should check it out. Graham wrote a piece over on Dog Sports about UGA's passing game last week, and I think we're going to kind of start there with sort of the crossroads that we're currently at coming into this game, because the sort of premise of this episode is going to be not what does Georgia need to do to beat Kentucky, but what does Georgia need to do to get better and beat the rest of its schedule. So Graham, why don't you start us out here?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that what we saw in the Kentucky-Missouri game last week, like the way that Missouri beat Kentucky, like running the ball 63 times, I think, and throwing it 30 and holding it for 46 minutes, like that's Kirby Smart's wet dream of a football game, right? Like there's nothing that he would probably enjoy more than that kind of game. So in theory and probably in reality, Georgia can probably go out tomorrow or on Saturday and maybe not even throw the ball at all and could possibly win the game because Kentucky just has a really anemic offense. But I actually think this is a really big moment kind of in the story of the 2020 season for Georgia and in Kirby Smart's tenure, because we've seen him implement all of these things, from recruiting wide receivers better and bringing in Todd Monken, that has kind of indicated that we're going to see a new passing attack and that is a priority. And after 3 turnovers at Alabama, knowing what we know about Kirby Smart, I would imagine there's a lot of temptation there for him to shutter down the offense and kind of, say, let's run the ball, let's play it safe. And Georgia can probably do that and beat everybody else that's on the regular season schedule. But ultimately, if you're recruiting number 1 classes, then you want a national title to go with that eventually. And for Georgia to get there, they're going to have to develop a passing game. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this all plays out. And we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of where I think we feel like there's opportunity for Georgia in the passing game. Because the whole, I think a lot of Georgia Bulldog Nation is focused on replacing Stetson Bennett, or if someone else is going to play quarterback on Saturday. And I think we both feel pretty confident that there is a roadmap to Georgia having a really good, productive passing game with him under center. There's just a few
for Georgia for the first time tonight,
and he'll by him, and there's a few things that can be done strategically a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get too far into, like you were saying, I think that there's more blame to go around for the Alabama loss than just Stetson Bennett. And I think one thing that we want to talk about before we really get into the passing game is just where we are in the run game, right? I think, it has been sort of a poorly kept secret over the past couple of years that UGA is not as good at running the ball down in and down out as they should be, and as their sort of recruiting pedigree would indicate. So I do want to just check out some Kindle Milton plays here. I think Kindle Milton's been a revelation. I know, Graham, this is something that you've been on for a long time. He just is a very powerful, well-balanced back. It seems like he learned his lesson after a couple of fumbles against Tennessee. And I think that he might be. It's clear that Zamir White, as high as his pedigree is and as good as a player as he can be, has not yet quite put it all together for whatever reason, whether that's injuries or just production. So let's look at some plays. I think the first one we have is just like a Milton up the middle. I think it's just an inside zone, and we'll see if we can get this to work here.
For Georgia for the first time tonight.
Oh, so powerful. So this is actually a split zone. And you can see split zone is backside, inside, outside, which doesn't matter to you. Basically, he runs to his tight end, which is what he should be doing. There's over pursuit from the inside linebacker, and it's just that makes me happy because that's a pretty routine play that is going where it should, but it goes where it should and it's successfully executed. A problem that I think UGA was absolutely probably had running back is just a lack of precision on really hitting the hole, and that was a really well blocked play. So it's not really an amazing athletic play from Milton, but it's still one that you like to see. There's another one here on zone. Can we do the Auburn clip 15, the next one here? Yeah, here we go. So this is a great play, I think, because it's a really good example. Oh no, this is James Cook. I thought these were all Milton.
No. Sorry.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. This is another example, actually, I think, of outside of Milton, what UGA's running game can do at its best, which is just get a lot of guys downhill and then just have a running back pick a hole. If I have any criticism of Zamir White, which it's hard to criticize him because he seems like a great guy, it's that he has gotten a little shifty in the backfield at times, and it seems like he either is indecisive or he has tunnel vision. Either he picks one hole and if it's covered up, he doesn't go for any yards, or he just sits in the backfield and doesn't do anything. And you can see also this is when I think UGA's running game is working, you have a running back who is willing to just pick a hole. Like we've said this in the last couple of battle hymnals, but this is not. We don't necessarily have a running back right now that can do the DeAndre Swift thing where he just sits in the backfield for 2 or 3 seconds and then just accelerates out from immediate penetration in the defensive line, right? So can we see the next one here? I think this is another split zone play. So I think, is this McIntosh or Zamir? That's, oh yeah, this, okay, so this is Zamir, but this is a good example of this. The thing that is frustrating about UGA's running game is that when it's at its best, every block is operating at full efficiency. Everybody catches their blocks, and the running back picks a hole and just runs through it. The problem is that our success rate numbers should tell you at this point that is not happening as much as it should, especially for an offensive line that is basically just 5 stars at this point. I don't really have any X's and O things to say about this. This isn't really that type of episode, but I think that kind of lost in the shuffle of frustration from the Stetson's performance against Alabama is that A, UGA stopped running the ball and they probably shouldn't have against Alabama, and B, outside of the Alabama game, UGA's run game has not been as good as people think it has. Can we see? Let's see. I think we have one more, or we have 2 more maybe. I think this is another split zone. Split zone is just my straight up favorite play. No, this is no. You're one forward. Yeah, there. Yeah. This one. Yeah. Outside power. See, this is one that it was impossible for us to find this play beforehand. All right, it's fine. That play doesn't exist. We ran outside power with 2 swinging. It was a strong side swing from the guard and the tackle, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it was the play that James Cook got hurt on, and I think that because of that, it just deleted itself. But that's all. The individual plays don't really matter, and that's not the analysis that I'm here to give you. My actual analysis is UGA has had some very good runs, right? But we have not been consistent enough, and we have not been consistently explosive, right? We have had a lot of 20-yard runs, but not a lot of 30-yard runs. We haven't seen a lot of big, long runs for touchdowns. Some of that could be because Zamir maybe doesn't have the top end speed that he, once did before the injuries. And I think some of that is just blocking. I mean, I think for UGA to beat Bama, not only does Stetson have to get better, we have to be able to commit to running the ball and run the ball well when we need to. but I don't think that's really what our main focus should be. So, Graham, do you want to talk about some pass plays?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think there's temptation there when watching that, right? Like, because I think that the running game still has some ground it needs to make up and some improvements that need to be made. But I also think that we've seen a lot of improvement from Arkansas to now. And so I do want to point that out and highlight that it feels like that unit is moving in the right direction in terms of offensive line and running backs.
Absolutely. Yeah, the offensive line in general, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the offensive line was great against Alabama for the most part. I mean, especially considering it's Alabama, I thought pass pro was actually really, really good the vast majority of the time. Maybe late in the game, once Alabama could kind of pin their ears back, it got a little shifty, but that's going to happen, to anybody in any game, really. If you're throwing on every down, it's pretty easy for those defensive ends to tee off. So on the pass side, the question really is is this the day, Saturday, this upcoming Saturday against Kentucky? Will that be the day that things actually start to click for Georgia in the passing game? I think there's a misnomer that Stetson Bennett has to hit these 40-yard bombs for Georgia to be a successful team or to be a championship level team. And really, I think he needs to play a point guard kind of role, like in basketball, right? Where he's just out there distributing to playmakers and getting people the ball in space and letting them, do the work and get yards after the catch. If he can hit his checkdowns, Georgia will be efficient in this game. Stetson Bennett will be efficient in this game. We'll see him with a completion percentage up around 60, 65% where he needs to be. And also, I think if Georgia focuses on going to that first, that deep throws will open up later in the game. So let's kind of show you a few things of what we're talking about here. First, let's look at some things that we need to fix from the Alabama game. So if, Justin, you can cue up that.
At 50 carries on 50 yards and 22 carries last week. Boy,
another one.
Batted balls again. How many times have
they had 115 passes thrown against them, and they've only had 5 sacks. They really have not been putting the pressure on the quarterback, but
at 50 carries on 50 yards and 22 carries last week. Boy,
another one.
Batted balls again. How many times have
they had 115 passes thrown against them, and they've only had 5 sacks. They really have not been putting the pressure on the quarterback, but
to move around in the pocket and step up in the pocket and into some of those throwing lanes might help the situation a good bit. Let's look at that next.
2nd and 10. Right in motion out of that backfield. But a lob one intended for Pickens. He and Patrick Surtain were tied up over there, incomplete. And a 2nd and 10. Right in motion out of that backfield. Bennett with a lob one intended for Pickens. He and Patrick Surtain were tied up over there, incomplete. And a 2nd and 10. Right in motion out of that backfield. Bennett with a lob one intended for Pickens. He and Patrick Surtain were tied up over there, incomplete. And a 2nd and 10. Right in motion out of that backfield. Bennett with a lob one intended for Pickens.
On this, maybe you're in first down. And so I felt like in the Alabama game we saw a lot of the game plan early on was we're going to go deep, we're going to go deep, we're going to go deep. And we're going to try and stretch the field and attack, and I don't think that's Stetson Bennett's game, honestly. Let's look at some of the things that we've kind of done well so far this year that I think we need to do a little bit more of. If you can pull
Recruited when he first came in here, and that run looked like
so right here,
over the middle, and a huge hit. Kearis Jackson is walloped.
Recruited when he first came in here, and that run looked like
over the middle, and a huge hit. Kearis Jackson is walloped.
Recruited when he first came in here, and that run looked like
over the middle, and a huge hit.
In the Arkansas game, if we can, to Fitzpatrick. And this is just going to be a little option route.
Empty set. 3 receivers split out to the wide side of the field. Bennett looking that way. Underneath. Hits his tight end. John Fitzpatrick for the touchdown.
as we've talked about on the show, like the Monken offense is
Empty set.
these types of
Three receivers split out to the wide side of the field. Bennett looking that way. Underneath. Hits his
like
top.
there's a lot of plays like this to be had, and I know everyone wants like the sexy 60-yard touchdown pass, but if Georgia can hit 6, 8, 10, 12-yard passes, then they'll be a nightmare to defend with the running game starting to come into its own. Last play we were going to look at is 39.
Just hit him and then turn your butt in the hole.
A minute 25 to go in the half. Georgia with 2 timeouts left. Bennett, deep middle. Got it. To the tight end. And it's all the way down to the 16-yard line.
But you love the matchup. You got Jeremy Banks, number 33, matched up against your tight end, and you lead him to the open air. Just hit him and then turn your butt in the hole.
Bennett made his living against Arkansas and Auburn and Tennessee. And then in the Alabama game, all of a sudden it was, we're going to throw towards the boundary, downfield, on the sidelines. And those plays are hard to make in any situation, but they're really hard to make when you haven't established something in the middle of the field already in the game that's causing safeties and defensive backs to have to kind of respect that center third of the field and shade that way. So I feel like if Georgia can kind of run some of these plays we're showing early over the middle, those downfield throws will open up later in the game, but Georgia has to kind of prove that they need to be defended in the 10 yards past the line of scrimmage on passing downs before anyone is going to start pulling guys up and giving us an opportunity to get open receivers running free way downfield.
And
what do you think about all that, Nathan?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, you got some pushback when you released this, when you released that piece about, how the pass game was like ready to get better, ready to explode or whatever. And, the criticism was just like, I just don't see it with Stetson. And I think, Stetson might not have what it takes to get this to where we need it to, but I think people are diagnosing the wrong problem with Stetson. I don't think that at this point in the game that his problem is that he's too short. He doesn't have arm strength. The problem is he's not seeing open men. When we said, when we talked about Monken's offense in the offseason, one of the things we said we were excited about is that it's kind of an offense of throwing the ball where they aren't, right? You scheme guys open and you want to get guys with like 10 yards of cushion and you just throw it to them wide open. And that's what Monken has always done. And that what frustrates me right now is that like that is happening at the schematic level. We are seeing open guys on tape, and it's just not clicking with Stetson for whatever reason. And it certainly didn't in the Alabama game. I mean, it felt like on every play, and we kind of talked about this, I think, earlier on the Battle Hymnal, like there were just a lot of open guys that he didn't hit. And like that's the step he hasn't taken. He's not going to grow 2 inches. He's not going to suddenly get like, 20 more pounds of foot force off of his deep ball, right? But he can hit open guys. And I think that's really that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, and I think, Georgia, well, you're not going to go broke taking a profit, right? Even if it's a 4 to 6 yard pass to your tight end that's not very sexy. Being in 2nd and 4 and 3rd and 4 is way different than being in 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 10. And Georgia's offense has been in 3rd and long a lot lately.
Right.
And especially against Alabama, I felt like the pressure of what the Alabama offense was doing on the other side of the field kind of caught up to Bennett a little bit. And it was like, let's go score in 2 plays instead of let's just have a drive and score, whether that's in 2 plays or 12 plays or 16 plays. And the good news is that, like, from what we're seeing this week coming out of just out of Athens and from Kirby Smart and Stetson Bennett's media availability, like, there's been a few comments about working on checkdowns. So hopefully we'll see some more of that on Saturday. But I think if Georgia can, like, make teams have to respect the tight end and even respect the backs out of the backfield, then you're going to get easy throws downfield. You're going to get throws that you can throw into a big area of space instead of having to throw to Pickens in like tight double coverage and hope he's going to go up and make a spectacular catch.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does Kentucky's offense scare you at all?
I mean, Joey Gatewood might start. He's an intriguing prospect. He's got a big arm and he can run. I don't remember thinking that he was like an incredibly accurate passer coming out of the. I mean, he got beat out by Bo Nix. And it's not that Bo Nix is bad, but like Bo Nix is a very good physical specimen that like just sprays the ball over the field. And I on the one hand, I do have sort of like post-traumatic Tua disorder or whatever with backup quarterbacks. But on the other hand, it's just like, I don't know, man, 36 plays against Missouri, 47 yards passing, 98 rushing. I mean, like that just doesn't, I don't know that a single quarterback who hasn't started an SEC game really scares you there.
Yeah. I mean, Missouri defense gave up 38 points to LSU and then held Kentucky to 10. Sorry.
And this is what No, it's okay. I mean, if you guys want to do some predictions, like one of the things that we talked about on the podcast was like, I am not worried about this game, but I think that it could suck. Like we might win this game comfortably and feel like shit about it the whole time because Kentucky has a pretty good defense. They have some pieces. They have a lot of length, like a lot of length. They have a lot of tall corners. So I think your sort of analysis of like we're at a crossroads is a good one because if UGA just blows this team out and moves the ball easily, it actually will tell us something because Kentucky doesn't have the talent that Alabama does have defensively, but they definitely are a well-coached team and they've been playing decent defense. So I think it's going to be a real litmus test. I'm not really worried about the result, but I do think there's a probability that we all just hate ourselves the entire time we watch it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, I would say, more probable than not. And I agree with what you're saying. It's like if Georgia can come out and move the ball and have some good long touchdown drives and be up by like 20 points at halftime, like that's a big deal because nobody's put up 30 points on Kentucky this year at all. You know, I mean, Auburn, I think it put up 28 or 29 on them, and that's the most they've given up. And also, their defensive backs are good. They've had 9 interceptions in the last 3 games, and so yeah, it's going to tell us a lot about like where Kirby is with this whole commit to the pass thing because I think all of the tendencies from both of these teams say, all right, Georgia, go out and run the ball 70 times and let Jake Camarda play field position and just do that like slow anaconda strangle them out kind of thing where it's a 10-point game in the fourth quarter, but it never feels like it's that close.
Yeah. I worry that Kirby is going to coach himself into a corner here. If I have a worry for the rest of the season, it's that we won't try to make the changes we're going to need to make if we make it to the SEC or even in the Florida game until we have to, and then it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that gives me hope is that like we do have Florida next week, and I think that Kirby Smart is at least smart enough to understand that Florida has a good offense and we're going to have to be able to score points in that game. So your passing game needs to be in a good rhythm when you get down to Jacksonville. That's like my one thing that I'm kind of pointing to make me feel positive that we're going to go into this and actually see like a creative offensive effort.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it has to move somewhere because that performance in the second half is not repeatable against Alabama if you want to win, right? And so one way or the other, you got to make some change. I think I think even Kirby acknowledges that the status quo won't work. So I think that's about all we got here today. Anybody else have anything else? Any questions, comments, thoughts on the rest of the game this weekend?
I'll throw out a 37-6 prediction.
I said 35-14. I think they might get like a fluke touchdown. Like the second one.
Yeah.
Would be a good day. What'd you say on your prediction, Justin? Oh yeah, you Price is Righted me. It's the closest without going over. It's going over.
See, Alabama does the Alabama thing now, though. Like Georgia does. Yeah, Georgia does the thing that Alabama did in like 2015 now. You know. So maybe Georgia will do the Alabama thing and just like come out and score on the first 3 drives, and then we can all like relax and have fun and be like, oh, look how good so and so looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. I think we did. I would just want to congratulate and thank and say how proud I am of Justin for just being our producer of Need here today. And you did video. You did a good job, bud.
You nailed it.
If you like what you heard here today and you want to hear some audio of our sweet dulcet tones, you can check us out on Chapel Bell Curve at anywhere that fine podcastiers provide podcasts to the masses. If you would like to hear more from us, you can find Graham at Dog Out West on Twitter. You can find Justin at the Justin Bray. You can find me at Nathan J. Lawrence. You can find us at Chapel Bell Curve and at the Battle Hymnal online. If you would like to really, really invest into, just this big, beautiful brand that we're building here, you can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Chapel Bell Curve. We have a really fun community, and we are streaming this from that community right now. So we think you'd enjoy it. It's as low as $1 a month, and it supports a really great cause in the Dogs for Pups campaign. If you want to yell at us, you can hit us at chapelbellcurve@gmail.com. Other than that, it's been great talking to you guys. We will catch you in the Classic City and in Durango this weekend. But until then, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
We should stop the stream now.